What is Freetown Village and why did you start it?
I'm not sure why I started it, other than I felt that it was a good way of teaching history. And Freetown Village is a living history museum that educates the public about African American history and culture. And we do that primarily through the performing arts. So we'll use theater, storytelling, music, workshops, special events to teach history. And we tour. So it's not a destination yet. I say yet because it has always been the plan. But we tour throughout the state, basically throughout the Midwest, with one of our numbers of programs. We have over 15 different programs. And each one can stand alone and present, whether it's a half an hour show or an hour show, or we have some full-length productions. So it's teaching history. And we believe that by showing people history, they're more likely to get it, participate in it, and understand it. Well, living history is we research history. We want to make sure we have the facts. And instead of reciting the facts, we show you the facts. So we would create a character. Well, let's say we're talking about churches or religion, organized churches. Well, we can talk about the first African American church was in such and such and such and such. And in education, we know that we remember maybe 10% of what we hear, but about 90% of what we experience. So it's creating that experience. So to talk about the church, we would create a character who knows about it, who could talk about it from a personal point of view. That depends on the time period. As a character they have on clothing that's appropriate to that time period, their continence. You have to keep that into consideration. What was a minister like in a community? Our first time period that I chose was 1870. And so you say, why 1870? Because it was 5 years after the end of the Civil War, when a lot of our communities were starting. People were migrating from the South, establishing their own communities. A lot of the HBCUs were started in the 1860s and 70s. People were moving from that plantation life to establish their own independence. We had blacks who were running for political office and winning. Mm-hmm. And the churches, the schools, the economic development, that was happening for us. The people that I train, we call interpreters. And as a first person interpreter, you are the person in whatever time period that you are telling the story. That's our interpretation form of choice, because if I am portraying, and my first character that I portrayed was a school teacher. Where did that come from? Well, I had been teaching, so I was more familiar with being a teacher. So that was the character, the first character that I portrayed. So again, it was comfort for me to portray that character, but knowing that I could manage a classroom, I could certainly manage an audience. So in theater, you call that the fourth wall. And if you've ever seen a traditional theater production, you as the audience are sitting, the actors are on stage, and there's no eye contact. They're interacting among themselves, and you're sitting there by yourself or whomever you came with. But in Freetown Village, when we break the fourth wall, we see the people, we talk to the people, and sometimes we ask them to do certain things. Well, people who are used to traditional theater like, what's going on here? But after they get into it, they enjoy it because it gives a comfort level. When we talk about Black history, a lot of people, the wall goes up. I don't want to hear about that Black stuff. But when they like stories about people, and we are telling people stories, the people that we have chosen to tell are Black people.